Good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss about History Chapter 2 From Trade to Territory. Students, in this topic we will be discussing Aurangzeb, East India Company, Battle of Plassey, Nabobs, Battle of Buxar, etc. Moving on to understand Aurangzeb. Students, who was Aurangzeb? Yes, Aurangzeb was the sixth Mughal emperor. Students, in India, he established control over large part of the territory. After the death of Aurangzeb, Subadars and big Zamindars established regional kingdoms. Yes, Subadars means Mughal governors. Simply we can say the chief of the province. Zamindars means big owners of land. So, in 1707, after the death of Aurangzeb, Subadars and big Zamindars established regional kingdoms. What do you mean by Subadars? Yes, Subadars means Mughal governors. Zamindars means yes, big owners of land. Students, Aurangzeb was the last powerful Mughal ruler. After the death of Aurangzeb, Subadars and big Zamindars established regional kingdoms. See, half of the 18th century, the British power began to emerge in India. That means the British power began to emerge in India from the second half of the 18th century. See, the British originally came to India as a small trading company. Ultimately, they became the masters of the vast territory. See, this did not happen overnight. It took a long time. Students, can you tell who was Aurangzeb? Yes, he was the sixth powerful Mughal emperor. Moving on to understand East India Company. Students, it is a trading company. East India Company is a trading company. Students, in 1600, the East India Company acquired a charter from the ruler of England, Queen Elizabeth I. Students, on that time, who was the ruler of England? Yes, Queen Elizabeth was the ruler of England. So, in 1600, the East India Company acquired a charter from the ruler of England, Queen Elizabeth. According to that, the East India Company got the right to trade. That means Queen Elizabeth I granting it the sole right to trade with the East. Students, you know the British East India Company came to India as traders in spices. Apart from that, they trade in silk, cotton, indigo, etc. Students, the Portuguese established their presence in the western coast of India and got their base in Goa. See, in 1498, the Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama reached India via Atlantic Ocean. Who was Vasco da Gama? Yes, Vasco da Gama was the Portuguese explorer. Students, by the early 17th century, the Dutch too were exploring the possibilities of trade in the Indian Ocean. Soon, the French traders arrived. So, all the companies wanted to buy the same things such as fine qualities of cotton, silk, pepper, etc. Students, in 1651, first English factory was set up on the banks of the river Hooghly. The first English factory was set up on the banks of the river Hooghly in 1651. Soon the trade expanded. On that time, the company convinced merchants and traders to settle near the factory. Students, in 1696, the company built a fort around the settlement. Students, can you tell who was the ruler of England in 1600? Yes, Queen Elizabeth I was the ruler of England in 1600. Students, do you know who was Vasco da Gama? Yes, Vasco da Gama was the Portuguese explorer. Students, next we are going to discuss about Battle of Plassey. See, after the death of Aurangzeb in 1707, the Bengal Nawabs refused to pay concession to the company. See, the Nawab of Bengal was the hereditary ruler of Bengal. Students, here we have Murshid Khan, Alivardi Khan and Sirajuddaulah. See, after the death of Murshid Khan, Alivardi Khan became the Nawab of Bengal. After the death of Alivardi Khan, Sirajuddaulah became the Nawab of Bengal. Students, on that time, the Bengal Nawabs refused to pay concession to the company. See, this conflict between the company and the Nawab of Bengal led to the famous Battle of Plassey. Students, you know the company wanted a puppet ruler. Puppet ruler means, yes, a person who is controlled by someone else. On the other hand, the company declared that the unjust demand of the local officials were running their trade and they demanded duty-free trade. See, this conflict between the company and the Nawab of Bengal finally led to the famous Battle of Plassey. Students, in that battle, Sirajuddaulah was defeated by Robert Clive. Students, after the defeated Plassey, Sirajuddaulah assassinated and Mir Jafar was made the Nawab. See, Mir Jafar died in 1765. After the death of Mir Jafar, Mir Qasim became the Nawab. Student, in 1765, the Mughal emperor appointed the company as the Diwan of Bengal. Students, can you tell the Nawab of Bengal after Alivardi Khan was? Yes, Sirajuddaulah. Students, do you know whom did the company install in place of Mir Jafar? Yes, company installed Mir Qasim in place of Mir Jafar. Students, why did the Battle of Plassey become famous? Yes, it was the first major victory the company won in India. Moving on to understand Nabobs. Students, several company officials returned to Britain with wealth and led flashy lives and showed their riches with great pride. See, they were called Nabobs. Students, the British called the Nawab as Nabobs, who was the symbol of power and authority. After the Battle of Plassey, the actual Nawabs of Bengal were forced to give land and vast amount of money as personal gifts to company officials. So, company officials succeeded in making money. Students, can you tell whom did the company install in place of Mir Jafar? Yes, company installed Mir Qasim in place of Mir Jafar. Moving on to understand company rule expands. Students, between 1757 to 1857, the East India Company annexed various Indian states. How? Yes, they followed different patterns while occupying the Indian states. See, after the Battle of Buxar in 1764, the company appointed residents in Indian states. Students, residents means they were political or commercial agents. So, residents were appointed by the company. Yes. See, residents began to interfere in the internal affairs of the Indian states. So, residents were the political or commercial agents and their job was to serve for the company. Soon, the company forced the state into a subsidiary alliance. Students, what do you mean by subsidiary alliance? Yes. Subsidiary alliance was a treaty. Yes. Subsidiary alliance was a treaty between the British East India Company and the Indian princely states. Students, according to this alliance, Indian rulers were not allowed to have their independent army. That means an Indian ruler entering into a subsidiary alliance with the British had to accept the British forces in his territory and also agreed to pay for their maintenance. Students, subsidiary alliance was introduced by Lord Wellesley. So, subsidiary alliance means yes, the Indian rulers had to maintain British troops in his state. Students, this system is developed by Lord Wellesley. See, if the Indian rulers failed to make the payment, the part of the territory was taken away by the British. Students, do you know who were the residents? Yes, the residents were the political or commercial agents. Students, what do you mean by subsidiary alliance? Yes. Subsidiary alliance was a treaty between the British East India Company and the Indian princely states. According to this alliance, Indian rulers were not allowed to have their independent army. Subsidiary alliance was introduced by Lord Wellesley. Why? Yes, to bring Indian states under the control of the British. So, subsidiary alliance means yes, the Indian rulers had to maintain British troops in his state. Next, we are going to discuss about Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan. Students, Mysore became powerful under the rulers like Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan. See, Hyder Ali ruled from 1761 to 1782. His son Tipu Sultan ruled from 1782 to 1799. Tipu Sultan was the famous ruler of Mysore. He ruled Mysore from 1782 to 1799. See, under his leadership, Mysore became very powerful. Because Tipu Sultan controlled the profitable trade of the Malabar coast, where the company purchased pepper and cardamom. In 1785, Tipu Sultan stopped the export of these items through the ports of his kingdom and disallowed local merchants from trading with the company. In 1785, Tipu Sultan stopped the export of sandalwood, pepper and cardamom. He also developed relationship with the French in India to modernize his army with their help. So why did Tipu Sultan develop a close relationship with the French in India? Yes, he did so in order to modernize his army with their help. The British got furious. Students, what do you mean by furious? Yes, furious means feeling great anger. So, Tipu Sultan developed relationship with the French. So, the British got furious. The company fought 4 wars with Mysore. In 1767 to 69, 1780 to 84, 1790 to 92, and 1792 to 1799. Finally, Tipu Sultan was killed and subsidiary alliance was imposed. Students, you know subsidiary alliance means yes, Indian rulers were not allowed to have their independent army. Students, can you tell whom did the company install in place of Mir Jafar? Yes, in place of Mir Jafar, the company installed Mir Qasim. Who was Tipu Sultan? Yes, Tipu Sultan was the ruler of Mysore. Moving on to understand war with Marathas, the climb to Paramountcy and the doctrine of Lapse. In 18th century, the Marathas were divided into many states under different chiefs. Mahatji Scindia and Nana Padnis were two famous Maratha statesmen. Students, the company fought 4 wars against the Marathas. In the first war, there was no clear victor, hence it ended in 1782. The second Anglo-Maratha War began in 1803 and ended in 1805. Students, the third Anglo-Maratha War began in 1817 and ended in 1819. The third Anglo-Maratha War crushed Maratha power. See, on the time the Peshwa was removed, The company now had complete control over the territories south of the Vindhyas. Students, can you tell when was the second Anglo-Maratha war fought? Yes, during 1803 to 1805, the second Maratha war was fought. Moving on to understand the claim to paramountcy. Students, paramountcy means being paramount or supreme. Lord Hastings introduced a new policy of paramountcy. See, according to this policy, the company claimed that its authority was paramount or supreme and its power was greater than that of Indian states. According to this policy, the British took control of Afghanistan, Sindh and Punjab and secured their control over Northwest. What do you mean by paramountcy? Yes, paramountcy means being paramount or supreme. Next, we are going to discuss about the doctrine of lapse. Hence, Lord Dalhousie devised a policy that came to be known as the doctrine of lapse. According to this policy, if an Indian ruler died without a male heir, his kingdom would become the part of company territory. Students, on the basis of doctrine of lapse, the company annexed Satara, Sambalpur, Udaipur, Nagpur and Jhansi. Students, can you tell what was Lord Dalhousie's doctrine of lapse? Yes, if an Indian ruler died without a male heir, his kingdom would become the part of company territory. Name the kingdoms which were annexed on the basis of doctrine of lapse. Yes, Satara, Sambalpur, Udaipur, Nagpur and Jhansi. Moving on to understand setting up a new administration. Students, British territories in India were broadly divided into administrative units called presidencies. See, there were 3 presidencies. They are Bengal, Madras and Bombay. That means the company divided its administrative units called presidencies. There were 3 presidencies. They are Bengal, Madras and Bombay. See, in India, districts were the main administrative units. Students, here we have 3 presidencies. You know they are Bengal, Madras and Bombay. See, each presidency was ruled by a governor. Districts were ruled by the collectors. Students, the supreme head of the administration was the Governor General. Warren Hastings was the first Governor General of India. See, he ruled from 1773 to 1785. Students, Warren Hastings introduced several administrative reforms, especially in the sphere of justice. So, British territories in India were broadly divided into administrative units. Each administrative unit was ruled by a governor. Warren Hastings was the first Governor General of India. Students, on that time, Warren Hastings introduced several administrative reforms. A new system of justice was established in 1772. Each district was to have 2 courts. They are a criminal court and a civil court. Students, criminal court is also known as Faujdari Adalat. Civil court is also known as Diwani Adalat. Students, we know the supreme head of the administration of the company was the Governor General. But in India, the head of the administration was the king. The main job of the Governor General was to introduce administrative reforms. The main job of the collector was to collect revenue and taxes and maintain law and order in his district. Students, can you name the kingdoms which were annexed on the basis of doctrine of lapse? Yes, the kingdoms like Satara, Sambalpur, Udaipur, Nagpur and Jhansi were annexed on the basis of doctrine of lapse. Moving on to understand the company army. Students, several changes occurred in the composition of the company's army. On that time, the company began recruitment for its own army. which came to be known as the Sipahi Army. Students, as the warfare technology changed from the 1820s, the cavalry recruitment of the company's army declined. In the early 19th century, the British developed a uniform military culture. Soldiers were increasingly subjected to European style of training, drill, and discipline that regulated their life far more than before. Students, if we take the Mughal army was mainly composed of cavalry and infantry. But the rural areas had a large number of armed peasants and the local Zamindars. So, in the early 19th century, the British developed a uniform military culture. Thus, the East India Company was transformed from a trading company to a territorial colonial power. Students, can you tell what constituted the Mughal army? Yes, cavalry and infantry. Students, now I am going to revise important terms. At first, we have Farman. What do you mean by Farman? Yes, Farman means a royal order during Mughal period. What was Farman? Yes, it was a royal order. Next, we have Charter. Charter means an official order. Moving on to understand Nabob. Students, what do you mean by Nabob? Yes, Nabob means the British called the Nawab as Nabob, who was the symbol of power and authority. The British called the Nawab as Nabob. Moving on to understand Subsidiary alliance. Students, Subsidiary alliance was used by Lord Wellesley. See, according to this alliance, Indian rulers were not allowed to have their independent armed forces. Yes, they were to be protected by the company. But if the Indian rulers failed to make the payment, the part of their territory was taken away. So, Subsidiary alliance means, yes, according to the terms of this alliance, Indian rulers were not allowed to have their independent armed forces. Yes, they were to be protected by the company and had to pay for it. Moving on to understand Paramountcy. Students, what do you mean by Paramountcy? Yes, Paramountcy means being paramount or supreme. Moving on to understand Qazi and Sawar. Students, Qazi means a judge. Sawar means trained soldiers on horseback. Next, we are going to discuss about musket and matchlock. Musket means, yes, a heavy gun used by infantry soldiers. Musket means a heavy gun used by infantry soldiers. Matchlock means, yes, an early type of gun. Students, now I am going to revise very short answer type questions. At first, who was the ruler of England in 1600? Yes, Queen Elizabeth I was the ruler of England in 1600. Queen Elizabeth I was the ruler of England in 1600. Students, can you tell why did the company want a puppet ruler? Yes, a puppet ruler would willingly give it trade concessions and other privileges. Students, what do you mean by puppet? Yes, the term here is used to refer to a person who is controlled by someone else. Why did the company want a puppet ruler? Yes, a puppet ruler would willingly give it trade concessions and other privileges. Students, do you know whom did the company install in place of Mir Jafar? Yes, company installed Mir Qasim in place of Mir Jafar. Company installed Mir Qasim in place of Mir Jafar. Students, can you tell who were the residents? Yes, the residents were the political or commercial agents, and their job was to serve and further the interest of the company. After the Battle of Buxar, the company appointed residents in Indian states. They were political or commercial agents, and their job was to serve for the company. Students, residents began to interfere in the internal affairs of the Indian states. So, residents means yes, political or commercial agents. Students, can you tell what was Lord Dalhousie's doctrine of lapse? Yes. If an Indian ruler died without a male heir, his kingdom would become the part of company territory. According to this doctrine of lapse, if an Indian ruler died without a male heir, his kingdom would become the part of the company territory. Students, can you tell? Name the two rulers under whose leadership Mysore became powerful? Yes, Hyder Ali and his son Tipu Sultan. Students, how did the company purchase Indian goods? Yes, it purchased Indian goods with gold and silver imported from Britain. It purchased Indian goods with gold and silver imported from Britain. Students, can you tell in what way was the administration of the company different from that of Indian rulers? Yes. The company divided its administrative units called presidencies. Yes. There were three presidencies. They are Bengal, Madras, and Bombay. In India, districts were the main administrative units. That means British territories in India were broadly divided into administrative units called presidencies. Yes, there were three presidencies. They are Bengal, Madras, and Bombay. Students, each presidency was ruled by a governor. Districts were ruled by the collectors. The supreme head of the administration was the Governor General. But in India, the head of the administration was the king. Each presidency was ruled by a governor. Districts were ruled by the collectors. Yes, the supreme head of the administration of the company was the Governor General. Students, in India, the head of the administration was the king. See, the main job of the Governor General was to introduce administrative reforms. The main job of the collector was to collect revenue and taxes and maintain law and order in his district. Students, can you tell when was a new system of justice set up? Yes, in 1772, a new system of justice was set up. In 1772, a new system of justice was set up. Students, do you know what was the main reason of defeat of Sirajuddaulah at Plassey? Yes, Mir Jafar, one of Sirajuddaullah's commanders, did not fight the battle with his soldiers. That means Mir Jafar, one of Sirajuddaullah's commanders, did not fight the battle. Students, what do you mean by doctrine of lapse? Yes. Doctrine of lapse means if an Indian ruler died without a male heir, his kingdom would become the part of company territory. See, according to this doctrine of lapse, the company annexed Satara, Sambalpur, Udaipur, Nagpur, and Jhansi. Students, Lord Dalhousie devised a policy that came to be known as the doctrine of lapse. Students, can you tell who was the first Governor General of India? Yes, Warren Hastings was the first Governor General of India. Warren Hastings was the first Governor General of India. Moving on to understand Tipu Sultan. Students, Tipu Sultan was the famous ruler of Mysore. He ruled Mysore from 1782 to 1799. See, under his leadership, Mysore became very powerful. Students, Tipu Sultan controlled the profitable trade of the Malabar coast, where the company purchased pepper and cardamom. In 1785, Tipu Sultan stopped the export of these items through the ports of his kingdom and disallowed local merchants from trading with the company. So, the East India Company fought 4 wars with Mysore. Finally, Tipu Sultan was killed. Students, who was Tipu Sultan? Yes, Tipu Sultan was the famous ruler of Mysore. Thank you.